let's bring in Dr. David Asher. He led the State Department's COVID origins investigation under the Trump administration. Doctor, it's good to be with you again. I just want to play it a little bit more of Dr. Fauci at this hearing addressing a number of issues, including that quick reversal from a couple of scientists, at least, on the origins of COVID in that now famous paper from early 2020. Listen here.
The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous. The second issue is a false accusation that I tried to cover up the possibility that the virus originated from a lab. Let me state for the record that to the best of my knowledge, I have never conducted official business using my personal email.
Dr. Asher, what do you make of what we have heard from Dr. Fauci so far?
Well, it marks a further gain of dysfunction in the U.S. federal government related to the response to the origin of COVID-19, the response of the National Institutes of Health in its work to help defeat or disrupt the virus. And it just further obscures the role that U.S. government funding that came out of Dr. Fauci's organization, NIAID, contributed materially to the Chinese Communist Party's biological weapons-related capability development program at Wuhan. I'm not saying this was a weapon, but these were people involved in bioweapons development that were using coronaviruses as their backbone. And we know that for certain.
So Dr. Fauci continues to deny to this day that the NIH and his agency, the NIAID, ever funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. But listen to what the NIH Deputy Director Lawrence Tabak told Congress back in January. Listen here.
Did NIH fund gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology through EcoHealth?
Yes, we did. It's research that goes on in many, many labs around the country. It is not regulated, and the reason it's not regulated is it poses no threat or harm to anybody.
I'm sorry, that was May 16th. But he did say, yes, we did. We did fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan. Now, Tony Fauci has been very, very careful to say we did not fund gain-of-function research on this virus. But can you still make the connection?
Of course. I mean, they were using synthetic biology to alter features of the natural backbone of a SARS coronavirus of still undetermined origin. We don't know exactly what the predecessor was to COVID-19, that they used the synthetic biology to adapt it to make it more virulent. But we know that they gathered that, and it was funded by Fauci's organization through a place called EcoHealth Alliance in New York, whose president, Peter Daszak, is soon to be disbarred from federal government contracting capabilities and duties for his failure to follow rules and safeguards. This is a biological kleptocracy run by Fauci in the name of biodefense. He spent over $38.5 billion in the last 20 years on biology defense mechanisms through NIAID, including funding research in China, dozens, if not even low hundreds of millions of dollars in research, I should say, that gave the Chinese the sort of keys to the kingdom for developing next generation biological weapons related capabilities, one of which unfortunately leaked to a laboratory. I don't think it was deliberate, but the cover up was 100% deliberate. And Fauci has gotten himself and brought himself to be involved from the beginning because he knew his fingerprints would be on that lab's research program.
Yeah.
The Congress has pointed that out.
So scientists, they were pursuing the theory that this emerged naturally in nature and somehow got transmitted to humans at that wet market in Wuhan, which is 1,000 miles away from the closest reservoir from the bat that carries this coronavirus. These other animals called pangolins were suggested as being the transitionary animal. But listen to what Dr. Robert Redfield told Fox this morning about his belief on the origin of COVID.
I think gain-of-function research, in my view, my opinion, is what caused this pandemic.
So he believed that, yet he was quickly sidelined by Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, and remember, Dr. Redfield was the head of the CDC. He was supposed to be in charge of the response frankly, for the U.S. government. Him and a guy named Dr. Robert Kadlec, who was the Assistant Secretary for Pandemic Preparedness at Health and Human Services. Both of them disagreed with Fauci on the origin issue just because of the so-called etiology. This thing spread like wildfire from the beginning. It didn't act like a disease that was jumping gradually within nature. And the reason, and we're confident based on our intelligence work with the intelligence community and at State Department through our source network, that the Wuhan Institute was engaged in highly dangerous gain-of-function research involving synthetic biology to make this into a super virus. And so they said they were doing it so they could create some sort of super vaccine. Well, that didn't work. The guy in charge of the vaccine, also funded by Fauci, a major general in the People's Liberation Army, apparently was either jumped or thrown off the top of the Wuhan Institute in May of 2020 because there is some theory that his vaccine actually helped spread the virus.
Right.
So we don't know for certain. But we do know that there was a lot of suspicion and a lot of intelligence pointing to the Wuhan Institute's involvement in not just normal research. We were talking about research related to biological weapons capabilities. Yeah. And that money was mostly coming from the Chinese, not from the U.S. Fauci did not cause COVID-19, but he covered it up.
So real quick, Doctor, because we're out of time here, but I just wanted to ask you this quick question. If Redfield was supposed to be in charge of the COVID response, how did Fauci end up in charge?
This is the biggest mystery, which I can't understand why the Congress is not looking into. And I think if there's a chance for us to continue at some stage, I'd like to, propose that be a topic, because he did it. He stepped into a void with a great deal of New York shtick and confidence, convinced the president that he was in charge. He had no statutory duty. We actually had a biological preparedness plan in place for exactly a pandemic of this nature, either coming from nature or we'll call it supernatural, out of a lab. Yeah. We had a detailed plan signed by President Trump. It was totally ignored, and Fauci stepped in to try to quash the involvement of Dr. Redfield in particular, because he was doing the right thing and trying to figure out what the nature of this artificially created virus was and how dangerous it would be.
Dr. David Asher, we always appreciate getting your thoughts on things. You know an awful lot about this. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.